TV18 special coverage here from the B20 Summit in India from New Delhi. I'm Shireen Bhan, and joining me now is a man who's making his B20 debut, the Global CEO of MasterCard, Michael Maybach. Many thanks for joining us again on CNBC TV18. It's an absolute pleasure to have you back here with us. Two themes that are the big priorities here at the B20 Summit, both themes that you're closely involved with. The digital experience and the digital adaptation that the world is making at this point in time, and financial inclusion. On both those, what's your big takeaway?
The big takeaway from the B20 is that the role of the public sector here in India, coming together with the private sector, has been a recipe for success for India. Digital transformation is powering growth for the country. That combination of using digital public infrastructure to pull people into the digital economy and creating the largest digital economy there is. G20 Sherpa Amitabh Kant said 46% of all transactions globally run through the Indian digital economy. So that's amazing. So we love to see that. Anything that rises the tide for everybody in digital payments is good for us. So that's a tremendous opportunity. The second takeaway here is the whole point of unearthing the potential of the demographic advantage that India has with 1.4 billion people. Digital transformation is this abstract point, but what it does is it brings the women entrepreneur into the system. It brings the small and micro business owners into the system. And it presents an opportunity to bank lenders and consumer packaged good companies and so forth. So two big opportunities, two big takeaways.
So let's address those big opportunities, and let's talk about this in the context of what MasterCard is hoping to do. The lessons and the learnings from the India experience. Of course, what we've been able to do in terms of the digital public infrastructure, laying the digital pipes, and the private sector building on top of that. But what's the MasterCard experience, and what do you hope to be able to export by way of distilling these learnings and take them global?
So first of all, when you have a situation where the public sector takes a long-term view, long-term investments, they lay the tracks. So think of us as the train that drives on the tracks. So this is, I think, the best of both worlds coming together. Long-term investment, long-term view, the ingenuity and the innovation of the private sector. So innovating on top of that, for us as a company that is in payments, but also in payment adjacent services, there's a tremendous opportunity now to make these new to system consumers, activate the solutions they have now been given. They're going to be part of the digital economy. They will need solutions in terms of cybersecurity. They need solutions, a lot of companies will need solutions in terms of data insights that all these digital transactions will throw off. That's what we do for a living. Cybersecurity, data insights, and payments. In this country, for basic payments from A to B, the government is taking care of a good part of that. We have a diversified business that will make those payments better. There's the whole world of B2B payments and cross-border payments in and out of India. So all of this comes together to a bigger digital growth opportunity for us.
Speaking about this digital opportunity, and yes, Mr. Kant has floated that number every time he speaks, that 46% of all digital transactions are emanating here in India. But just the headroom for growth in a market like this for MasterCard specifically, and you also spoke about not just the payment side of the business, but also the adjacencies. What do you see over the next few years, specifically for India, for your business?
Yeah. So over the past 10 years or so, we invested tremendously in India. So the digital transformation opportunity isn't brand new. So we were on this journey for over 40 years now. So we have about a third of our global staff here, and we keep investing. We keep investing, bringing more talent here, localizing our solution. Because, an expectation should be, as coming out of B20 and the G20 presidency, that other countries will look at the India model. So being present here and innovating in India, for India, but with that also beyond the borders of India is a tremendous opportunity for us. The world cannot be safe enough. The topic of cybersecurity, we're going to continue to invest here, and that will be is our strength. We see more data than most other companies, and for us that puts us in a privileged position. I have to praise the government of India actively leaning into cybersecurity with partners like us. So looking at the CERT level, at the national level, at the state level, it's an active conversation, tremendous opportunity. I could go on for a while, but let me stop here.
Okay, so let's address some of the other issues that you're working on and some of the other partnerships that you've just about managed to ink. One with Airtel, and the Airtel Payments Bank specifically to address the cohort of women entrepreneurs in the country. Why did you feel the need to do that?
Right. So, first of all, mobile financial services pretty prevalent in our lives. We do many things on our phones today. So the mobile carriers have a privileged position in terms of access to consumers and providing financial services. For us, it's a natural partnership, and we have been partnering with Airtel, Bharti Airtel, for quite a while. We do this in India. We partner with them in Africa as well. So here, the next question was, what else can we do that goes beyond providing services to the people that are already in the digital economy? So there's tremendous opportunity in India when you think about the women-led entrepreneur. Where are they? Are they being catered to in the way that really unlocks their full potential? Think what all that would do to the Indian GDP if all women-led entrepreneurs could live up to their full potential. This morning I met 15 of them at a round table, and I heard their everyday problem. Brings me back to your question about that partnership. What specifically is happening here, Airtel is enabling the women entrepreneur in a rural area to also become an agent for them. Because mobile financial services are so prevalent in people's lives, they have yet another reason to go to her shop and engage there to whatever airtime they buy, whatever else they do that the Airtel Payments Bank provides. So for us, this is a natural partnership to enable small entrepreneurs to do more. For her, this is great. It's more traffic, so it works for everybody. This is a portion of a broader commitment that we have here in India to enable 100,000 women-led entrepreneurs through a program called MasterCard Strive that we'll do with a range of partners. But very specifically, we're excited about this partnership, which we announced yesterday with Airtel India. Very specific action, should work like chalk.
Well, we hope that this does have the multiplier impact that you spoke of.
That's what we hope too.
You know, when we last spoke and you had just taken over as CEO, and you said that you were hoping to look at your CEO role from the lens of the product and tech role that you had sort of, been living with, and you were hoping to converge the two. What's been the big learning over the past year on that front, and what could that potentially mean in terms of innovation that leads to more inclusion?
Yeah, when you look forward from a technology perspective, just now we had a panel session here at the B20 of the Financial Inclusion Task Force, which I chair. In one of the set of recommendations that we put on the table is what's common across the various segments that are not fully included. So commonality of issues that need to be addressed. So fit for purpose products. We said, so if that is the point, so let's break that down. This is the task force at work, because I'm going to, I won't take you too deep into what we did over the last 6 months or so. But basically, commonalities are data exchange platforms, leveraging open banking technology to ensure that you, that me, we could share our data to get better financial services. How do you do this in a safe, consumer permissioned fashion? Next thing is digital identity. You have Aadhaar, which is a real step forward in India versus many other countries around the world. But how do you make that digital ID verification available at every digital transaction level possible? So that's a tremendous potential that's there to be unlocked. And then we're right back to cybersecurity. With all this digitizing world, all that data, the next fraudster is going to think, while we sit here, about how to go after that data. We got to keep it safe, because if you think about financial inclusion, you're new to systems, something goes wrong, your trust in that brand new digital world will be gone in the flip of a moment. We got to keep it safe. Three big opportunities, three learnings that we will take to other countries.
I want to now address the near-term global outlook. As far as you're concerned, the numbers have been looking good. You delivered a strong second quarter. Take me through what the outlook is now in terms of consumer spending, even though rates continue to be high and that there is an expectation that the Fed is going to have to continue to keep rates high for the near term. Right.
So, we just saw over the last couple of days the Jackson Hole conference. So there was a lot of conversation around what the central banks are doing. For us, what we take out of it, continues to be a commitment of central banks to do what they need to do to curb inflation. And we start to see that shows impact. Inflation has been moderating in some countries, not in all countries. And India has been actually standing out in terms of inflation that is comparatively lower than most other markets, with a very domestic-oriented economy. That's very good for India. The way we look at this is the consumer throughout post-pandemic recovery woes and ups and downs and left and rights has been remarkably resilient. So the higher inflation has really not led to a reduction in consumer spending. So consumers have made trade-offs, and they made it work. More affluent consumers spend more. Less affluent consumers made decisions on how to meet end works. I'm not going to buy this, but I'm going to do something else, and so forth. So spending continued. It's been aided by a strong job market, by strong savings. When you look forward, all of those drivers still look in place. We're not the economic oracle, but we're going to monitor these. And at this point in time, we expect, at least for this side of the year, there's not going to be any change. Big changes in behavior that we see globally and we see also equally here in India is during COVID, it was a world of goods. You can go anywhere, you can do anything.
Yeah.
So people just spend their money on ordering things online. That's just what they did. The focus on services and experiences is tremendous. You go higher up on the income, people travel. There's tremendous potential in travel as we look forward to the overall economic activity around travel, and the opportunity that presents to people in travel or companies like us is still tremendous. So there's a lot of goodness out there, but we always monitor and see where it goes. We're a truly global company because countries are affected in different ways depending on what the policy response is, what their local conditions are, so it could be up and down and left and right. But everything I just said are global trends.
Those are global trends. Well, speaking of global trends, what's the next big wave of disruption that you anticipate? I mean, it was banks worried about payment companies. Now it's banks and payment companies trying to work together. It's now telecom companies and banks and payment companies need to be worried about
fantastic?
So
everybody sees the opportunity in payments. That's what that tells me.
Clearly,
which is fantastic. When you think about where's the world of payments going? So yesterday here at B20, the first panel after the opening was about AI.
Yeah.
So I happened to be part of that conversation, and we looked at that, and you started to think the topic of cybersecurity that we discussed. So just put the thinking hat on. This is actually fairly near term. You could today, when we deal with fraud, we deal with the transaction at hand. AI, Gen AI, would allow you to predict what is the next likely transaction that anybody is likely to make, and should that go through, yes or no. So predictive scoring around to manage fraud, put those fraudsters in the corners where they belong. That's a very near-term opportunity. Near-term, we also see a lot of efficiency effects coming out of Gen AI and so forth going forward. Imagine last time you booked a trip. You spend a weekend researching destinations and airlines. You logged into your loyalty account to check how many miles you have. Hours are gone. And then you have a trip altogether, and you still don't know, have you known everything that you should know? Will you go to the best hotel? Is that chauffeur service really the best one, etc.? This could all be done with an online digital travel agent, leveraging Gen AI, everything knowledge that is known about the destination. You tokenize your loyalty account, you put it all together within 2 minutes. I've just been in our labs and seen it live. It is fantastic. So that could be a disruption. Anywhere in between, we're going to see the rise of open banking. We're going to see the rise of more tokenization. We're going to see the rise of digital assets. We're going to see the rise of real-time payment systems in more countries than in India, and so forth. It's a busy time. More a change in technology around payments than we've seen before. It's our role as MasterCard to be ahead, at least 1.5 steps for our customers in any of these trends.
So to be ahead 1.5 steps, how much time are you now spending in the lab, and what kind of capital do we expect MasterCard to deploy to be ahead in this AI and tech game?
I give you one number. Over the last 5 years or so, we spent over $5 billion in cybersecurity. So
$5 billion.
Yeah. So it's big numbers that we spend on technology, I try to stay as close to what I love to do anyway. It's kind of see what is going on in technology front, sit with our engineers. I just gave you this example of hanging out in our labs. It is important for us to remember that we are a technology company. We have to be ahead. We're going through a whole revamp of our technology as we speak. We have to be more flexible. In the end, local relevance matters. What India wants to do is what the Indian consumers need. That's what we need to do. And the same accounts for Brazil, Australia, and so forth. So being flexible from a technology perspective takes massive investments, but it's as long as it caters to the consumer, I think we're going to be on the right track.
Well, speaking of consumer interest and speaking of
Right.
localization,
Right.
we last spoke about your aspiration to bet big on cricket, and you've decided to do that yet again with the ICC World Cup. So,
We have.
so that's clearly emerging as a big passion for you, isn't it?
It is, it is. In fact, we got inundated over the last couple of days after we put out the ICC news, which I'm delighted about, with ticket requests. So I'm not sure I'm going to get a ticket, actually. But, you know, it comes down to a deep belief of ours. In the market, and we want to be relevant, what are the local passions? So it is cricket here, and it's cricket, interestingly enough, in many other countries. We're sponsoring the Rugby World Cup because there's some nations that are just crazy about rugby. We do soccer in Europe and so forth. Local relevance is what matters. We're a B2B company, so if you want to trigger a relationship to our brand, it's got to be, what are you passionate about? Music, restaurants, sports, whatever it is. Actually, not whatever it is. We've identified about 8 passions that are pretty standard globally.
Well, post this interview, I bet you're going to be inundated with more ticket requests for the World Cup.
Right.
But Michael, it's great to have you back on the program. Thank you very much for your time, and we wish you the very best of luck and look forward to seeing you back in India.
Until next time.
Until next time. We will take a quick break, but the conversations continue here on CNBC TV 18. We're back in a minute with more.